From Washington, D.C., this is Middle East Focus.
Welcome to Middle East Focus. My name is Lyne Sneige, and I'm the director of the Arts and Culture Center at the Middle East Institute, sitting in for Alistair Taylor this week. This is an exciting time for us. We inaugurated the MEI Art Gallery this past September, the first gallery in DC embedded in a think tank and dedicated to contemporary art, video, and photography from the Middle East. On Friday, November 1, and as part of our inaugural show entitled Arabicity, Uruba, we opened with a pop-up exhibition entitled Perpetual Identities by Lebanese artist Katya Traboulsi. The exhibition is up until November 22nd and consists of 22 handcrafted replicas of bombshells used in the Lebanese Civil War, each adorned with the designs and iconography associated with the artistic traditions of 22 featured countries. The sculpted ornamented forms transform weapons of war into objects of beauty, representing the power of art to transcend violence and destruction. It is important to note that after the show at MEI, the bombs will travel to the United Nations to be exhibited there. With me in the studio today is artist Katya Traboulsi to speak about her work, its impact, and the significance of showing this in the United States. Thank you, Katya, for being with us.
Thank you, Lyne.
We are
it's
delighted
wonderful to be here.
Thank you. We are delighted you are with us in DC, and we know how hard it must be to be away from home, which is Lebanon now at this particular time. For our listeners, Lebanon has been witnessing for the past 3 weeks an unprecedented and historical peaceful uprising that has finally united the country under one flag. Lebanon is notorious for its history of sectarian divides in politics. The peaceful uprising is led by a young generation that is calling for change, for an end of a corrupt and old political system. They are calling for a secular and forward-looking state, a state that would primarily be up to their aspirations and expectations to live in dignity. Katya, your art practice has long focused on the message that those young people are carrying.
True.
And has been a call for humanity to come together, a call for reconciliation and peace, and a need to start the process of healing. This must be a very exciting time for you, and I'm keen to talk about your entire art practice and how it is rooted in that message today. But I first want to begin by asking you about Perpetual Identities. Can you tell us a little bit more about the genesis of this project?
Perpetual Identities is actually talking about the past, the present, what's happening in Lebanon, with the message that carries these bombs. They carry a message of humanity, of history, of peace, of reconciliation, of tolerance also, because Perpetual Identity represents many countries, 46 in total, that talks about all countries and mainly countries in all the continents of the earth. For me, we're all connected, and if one country is sick, the whole world is sick. We cannot divide the Middle East from the rest of the world, and the rest of the world cannot be divided or separated from us. We are all linked today, so we are becoming global. Therefore, in my Perpetual Identities, the message is a message of unity, of reconciliation, of peace, of history, of humanity, of also cultural. It's very cultural. Each country have a cultural background so rich and so powerful that it cannot be destroyed. It will remain throughout time. Basically, Perpetual Identity is remembering the future. It's a visual that represents the glorious past of a civilization and will perpetuate in the future. And no war, no occupation, nobody can remove this identity and this image of a civilization.
Hence this powerful title of Perpetual Identities and how peace and humanity will prevail and the cultures that they carry will overcome.
Even, for example, Mexico is represented by the Aztec visuals. Why? Because they're still alive. They kept this identity alive.
Absolutely.
In Egypt, in Lebanon. We have the Phoenicians, Egypt, the pharaohs, and etc., etc. So it's a force that will remain in there in time.
The continuity.
In time, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Katya, you exhibited this powerful series in Beirut in 2018. And, just those are very notorious bombs in the Lebanese civil war. Many people lost loved ones. Many people had their houses burned. And, you dress them up so beautifully, and they are quite impressive when, one is so close to this object of utter destruction. You must have known that they would evoke very strong emotions in your viewers. Tell me a little bit about your choice and the response that you got.
Lyne, for me, talking about the war is very important. I think you cannot move on unless you talk about your past and the traumatism that war leave inside of us. So I started doing Generation War, which was the first subject of war that I wanted to highlight in Lebanon. Let's talk about this war. Let's work on reconciliation. Let's look at each other. Stop hiding behind a daily routine that is full of this heavy burden of that we carry every day remaining from the war. So Perpetual Identity was like a controversial subject that, yes, we had the war. These bombs will awake a lot of memories in your mind. But remember that we are living, who we are. Remember who we are. We can, looking at the positive side of what these bomb represents today by representing identity. Don't forget your humanity. Don't forget that we are different, but we can create wonderful things with our differences. And not the contrary, the intolerance, the separation, the ugly side that war creates. So having these bombs that represents object of destruction, intolerance, separation, blah, 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 everything that we lived through the war, dressed with the beautiful cultural side and identity of each country. It's like shutting the sound of war and saying we can survive by turning the situation into a very positive side when we look at each other. And today what's happening in Lebanon since the 17th of October, I think the war ended on the 17th of October, 44 years later, we finally understood that separation and looking at each other with intolerance led to a destruction of our country even after the bombs. And today, when under one flag we want everything, the same thing is peace and one country. We want all to be Lebanese. We don't want to have sectarian identities, and we don't want to belong to different political parties. That is the remain of our war. It's a miracle. It's wonderful. And I was so right to believe in humanity. I was so right to believe in my project. I was so right to talk about we are all the same. We have all the same needs. We are all wonderful in what we in our humanity. So let's recreate this humanity far from the specter of war and what leaders are creating in our minds. The truth is that we all need the same thing. We know we need peace. We need to have to eat. We need to have a secure environment. So this is what's happening today in Lebanon under one flag. Finish. We don't want separations. We don't want religious separations. We don't want all that.
Indeed, what beautiful words, Katya. And it is a project that is full of catharsis and that it really brings, as you say, the importance of humanity and the importance of looking all at each other as one and not as the other. The response here, Katya, in DC was quite overwhelming as well during the opening. And people connected with your message quite strongly. Were you expecting this? And can you tell us a little bit about the feedback that you got here from audiences in DC?
Well, because this project is the project that talks about everybody. Everybody is receptive to it emotionally, because I think we are in a period of time today where we are all afraid afraid. We live in fear. We live in fear of war. We live in fear of immigrants. Fear is everywhere, especially fear of war. We hear it every day, everywhere. There is a threat. We are threatened by this. And because this project represents in the same time a symbol of war and at the same time a symbol of the controversy, the message that is a message of peace. I guess people were very touched emotionally even here because, as I told you and as I believe, we are all connected. We are all connected and we know everything on everybody today. And we are all from everywhere and nowhere. So we have the same need. We are afraid and we want to talk about peace. We are hoping that peace and humanity and something will happen, a miracle will happen on this earth, and the energy will change into positive energy, reconstruction, taking care of the environment, which is a threat for everybody. Nobody will escape. Nobody will escape.
Absolutely, Katya. They're quite stunning, those replica bombshells, and I wish our listeners can imagine them. I want to ask you, Katya, what is the technical process? Can you tell us more about it? How did you make them? How long did it take you to produce them? I heard you speak during the opening night about traveling to many countries and working with local artisans and even helping revive some crafts sometimes. Tell us a little bit, how long did the project take and how did you manage to create those beautiful objects?
First of all, the project took 6 years of work. I had 2 years of research, historical research, to just represent the real soul of each country, and then the real soul in history, the visual identity. And then I wanted, it was mission impossible for me once I designed the project. I thought, okay, how am I going to realize all that? And slowly I started discovering, doors were opening for me. Some pieces, I had to do them in their country of origin because only the skills of artisans in these countries could execute these pieces. I have pieces carved in stone, I have pieces in wood, I have pieces in porcelain, in resin. I had to manufacture it in the various countries to realize them. So I went to China, I went to India, I went to Egypt, I went to Syria, many countries, and I worked with artisans who was really a lot of, because this is a heritage also. Being an artisan is a heritage, historical heritage. And I wanted to have their soul in these pieces. Unfortunately, I don't have all their names, but I'm really grateful that I could, in a way, revive this artisanal. It's
those
their
crafts,
skills,
yes.
these crafts in my pieces, and on the other side have a part of their soul, historical soul, in these pieces because they're all handmade, and they are so beautiful because they are handmade. Today we are in an area where the machine is replacing man slowly. So they, I think in a while they will become extinct because nobody will take their skills anymore. Nobody is interested to learn their skills anymore. We are in a money generating world,
and a corporate,
a very ugly money generating world. So the skills is something so precious today. We have to revive it. We have to keep it as long as we can, and the art world and the crafts.
Absolutely, and it's must have been a long and a labor of love to produce those.
A lot of passion, a lot of determination, a lot of love also. Because without love and passion, you can't realize anything. And it was labor's work, but at the end, I was like, wow, I've done it. I know when you have a dream and you believe in it, nothing is impossible.
Absolutely, and congratulations. It is a stunning series,
Thank
and we are
you.
so happy to host it here
I'm
at the Middle East
very
Institute
honored to be here.
in DC. Your body of work, Katya, I want to talk a little bit about your other work beyond Perpetual Identity. Your entire body of work is rooted in the devastating effects of the war. And quite understandably, like a lot of other people, you've been personally impacted by growing up during the war. Your paintings depict the impact of war on people, and in 2013, you published Generation War, a body of work that traces the story of photojournalists who witnessed the Civil War during the 80s. Mm-hmm. It was like an homage to their efforts. What do you think is the role of the art in that space, in the space of war and peace building? What do you think art and artists can do?
I think that our role today is, and it always has been in history, I think that an artist will witness his time and will express it in his art. Okay? It's either his personal life or his social life or his political life. I've chosen, after working in paintings on my personal life maybe, then social life, then I've chosen to witness the war. I don't want to say the war, but political life of the region and the world also, because I believe that we are all linked. So the topics I'm working on today, after Generation War actually, because when I created Generation War, I saw the impact that these pictures were doing on the generation who lived the war. Each person who was looking at those pictures that belonged to the 80s during the war was moved and had the need to say, I remember when I was in the 80s, this and this, and it had an incredible story to tell. And I felt that we really need to talk about it. We really need to leave traces behind us for history not to repeat itself. And the new generation knew nothing about it. So I've decided to work in that direction from now on, because first of all, I feel concerned about it. And secondly, the wound that I have is the wound of everybody who lived the war in the same way. Even if they express it differently, my role, and thank God I have this gift. If I can do it as much as I can do it, I will express it in art, and I will continue to talk about it in my way, not dramatically. I hate drama, and I like beauty in art, so I will try, which is very challenging, like I did with these shells, to stay in the beautiful expression of art, and in the same time talk about our wounds, but in a positive way, because also I have learned to be positive by hoping that everything will change one day, hoping that human being will wake up one day. Hope is something that gives you a survival kit. I mean, hoping is really important. So we always hope. That's the way we lived the 15 years of war, hoping that it will end tomorrow. So waiting and hoping is very important. And by hoping, you stay positive.
Thank you so much, Katya. Thank you for sharing your work, your thoughts, your emotion, and your presence here with us at the Middle East Institute Art Gallery. We are here to give a platform for you and for all the other artists. We believe in the role of the arts in society in helping build more forward-looking and stable societies in the Middle East and in the world.
Can I add one thing about the revolution today in Lebanon?
Please.
I want to thank, and I'm so proud of the Lebanese people in Lebanon. They are full of hope now. They're going to change things. And I really pray every day that it's going to succeed. And my part of the revolution is to take this installation and show it everywhere and talk about our strength and our hope and our message of peace and our need of having a normal life.
Absolutely, Katya.
Life.
We feel your energy, your commitment and determination, and your hope as well. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Lyne. Thank you, the Middle East Institute. Thank you so much.
This has been a presentation of the Middle East Institute. To support MEI's programs and podcasts, please donate at www.mei.edu. Thank you for your support.